percents. Our objective is to solve problems involving percents. Why learn this? Jewelers use percents to determine the purity of precious metals. Well, what exactly is a percent? A percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. So 25% is like saying 25 over 100, which is in fact 1/4. These are some common equivalents. So 10% as a fraction is 1/10, and as a decimal is 0.1. 20% as a fraction is 1/5, and a decimal would be 0.2. 25%, just like above, the fraction is 1/4 and 0.25. So then we have 33 1/3%. Well, the fraction is 1/3, and the decimal is a repeating decimal as 0.33333 and keeps going. I may write this table down in your notes as a nice reference tool. Alright. You can think of a percent proportion as is over of equals percent over 100. You might have thought of or heard of it as part to whole equals percent over 100. The is essentially the part, the of is the whole. And you have your percent over 100. Let's try a couple. Find 50% of 20. So we just talked about the idea of is over of equals percent over 100. So find what is 50% of 20. Now I'm sure many of you can do this one in your head, but for practice, we're going to do the math out. So we have your part, which is your unknown, your is, and your total, or your whole, is the of. So what is 50% of 20? And we have 50 over 100. Well, you have a proportion, so you can cross multiply. Remember, your proportion has to have an equal sign in there. Okay, so we have 20 times 50, and then divide that by 100. So we have 20 times 50. Let me make that look like a 5. So it looks almost like a 6. So we have 20 times 50 equals 100 times x. And now we have 20 times 50, which is 1,000. So we have 1,000 equals 100x. Divide both sides by 100. Make sure you keep that river in there so you know which side you're dividing. And we have x equals 10. Well, that makes sense because half of 20 is 10. Alright, so let's get a little bit trickier here. So we have find 105% of 72. You guys try this one and then check your answer. Now that you've had a chance to try this one on your own, let's try it together. Alright, so we have our unknown out of our total or our whole of 72. So part to whole equals 105 over 100. And we can cross multiply. So we have 72 times 105 equals 100 times x. Well, 72 times 105 is 7,560, and that equals 100x. And just like we did before, we want to divide both sides by 100 because we want to get this x by itself, because ultimately that's what we're trying to find. And when you divide both sides by 100, you end up with 75.6. Not sure if you've noticed, but when you did this one here, when you divided by 100, you ended up with 10. What did you do? Over here, you started with 7,560 and you ended with 75.6 when you divided by 100. Well, you just moved the decimal 2 places. So when you're dividing by 100, you don't have to go crazy trying to figure out too much math here. You just move the decimal 2 places and there's your answer. Alright, let's try finding the percent. We just figured out how to find the part, which was the is, but now we want to figure out what the percent is. So we have that is over of equals percent over 100. Basically, that's your part to whole over, or equals your percent over 100. They're the same thing. Alright, so what percent of 60 is 15? So we have our part and our whole, and we don't know what our percent is, so it's our unknown, and it always goes over 100, because if we return back to the definition of percent, it compares a number to 100, so you have to have that 100 in there. Alright, now we can cross multiply, so we have 15 times 100 equals 60 times x. Okay, well in the previous examples, we were dividing by 100. And when we divided by 100, we moved the decimal to the left 2 places. Well, if we're multiplying by 100, which direction do you think we're going to move that decimal? To the right. And it's 100, so to the right 2 places. So 15 times 100 is really 1,500. And, well, we can't really simplify that side just yet. And now we want to get x by itself, so we're going to divide both sides of the equation by 60, so that way we can get x all by its lonesome. So when we divide, we've done the opposite and we get rid of it. When we have 1,500, so 1,500 divided by 60, which is 25. So therefore it's 25%. Try this next one on your own, and then check your answer. Now that you've had a chance to try this one on your own, let's try it together. So we have 440 is what percent of 400? Okay, so we have 440 is what percent of 400? Your part to your whole equals your percent over 100. So your percent is what you're trying to find. Well, we have 440 times 100. So we have 440 times 100 equals 400, and our percent is our unknown. So we'll replace that with a variable. Alright, just like we did up here, we're multiplying by 100, so we're going to move the decimal 2 places. So we have 440, and we're going to go 2 places, so add 2 zeros. Equals 400x. Well, now we can simply divide by 400 on both sides, because we want to get x by itself. Rather important here. Which leaves x by itself, and we end up with 110. Therefore, you have 110%. Alright, so we've figured out how to find the part. We figured out how to find the percent. Now let's try finding the whole. So we have 40% of what number is 40. Or sorry, is 14. So 40% of what number is 14? So we have 14. We don't know what our whole is. That's what we're trying to find. And we have 40 over 100 because 40 is our percent. So now we can cross multiply. So we have 14 times 100 equaling 40x. Alright, so we can move our decimal 2 places to the right. So we have 1420, so 1,400 equals 40x. And we want to get x by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 40. So we have 1,400 divided by 40, which gives us 35. So your of, or your whole, is 35. Try this next one on your own, and then check your answer. Alright, so let's try this together. We have 40 over our whole equals 0.8 over 100. So we can cross multiply. We have 40 times 100 equals 0.8, or 8/10, times x. So we move the decimal 2 places. So we have 4,000 equals 8/10 times x. And we want to divide both sides by our 8/10. And when we take 4,000 and we divide it by 0.8, we end up with 5,000 equaling x. So your of, or your whole, is 5,000. There is an equation method that can be used. If you would like to learn that, you can come see me. But for the video's purpose, we just did the proportion method. Let's check out a real-world application. So, jewelers can use the carat system to determine the amount of pure gold in jewelry. Pure gold is 24 karat, meaning the item is 100% gold. A 14 karat gold ring contains 14 parts gold and 10 parts other material. What percent of the ring is gold? Round your answer to the nearest percent. Okay, so you have is over of equals percent over 100. So you have 14 carats to 24 carats equals x over 100. Well, your part to your whole ring, 100% of your ring is gold. Well, what if it is 14 parts? How much of that is your percent? So cross multiply. You have 14 times 100 equals 24 times x. And then divide both sides by 24, leaving us with x equals 58.3. So a 14 karat gold ring is approximately 58% gold, whereas a 24 karat gold ring is 100% gold. And that ends our lesson on percents.